Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Sirhan on X, live from Cincinnati, Ohio, here in the United States. Hope everyone had themselves a wonderful end of January, the 31st of January, 2025. I never thought I would live to see the day where this comes because this winter was absolutely long. We consider all the snow and ice, especially over here in the Cincinnati area we've been getting, it has been absolutely terrible. And these days it felt like they were longer and longer and longer. Actually, today, for the first time, I was able to step outside and actually breathe for a change, where I actually got a chance to see grass out of the snow that was finally melting, because I never thought I'd be able to see grass again for as long as I lived. It felt like it was that long where I was able to see it. Nice to see some changing weather finally after all this time. So, got a chance to enjoy myself a little bit today. Hope everyone out there is doing well. Uh, you're closing in on the Super Bowl. I'll talk about that as we get closer to it. Just some things I want to touch on today. Got some newcomers here in recent weeks. Just a little bit of what I do. Like everybody else, everybody has a voice. I have one too. I decided to jump into this. I did this a long, long time ago, but a lot of things compiled on at once, and I left it. I came back this time with a different mindset, and I'm more than ready to stay put this time. So I'm looking forward to just being a part of this. So I've been on a bunch of NFL spaces. I've been on a bunch of boxing spaces and a bunch of boxing groups, and I'm going to continue that here as I continue to go on for as long as I possibly can. So I'm just going to get right down to it here real quick. Of course, the big news out of Baltimore is the allegations involving Justin Tucker, the standout kicker. I think he's probably kicking himself after whatever happened a little more than a decade ago. I won't uh, discuss it. You guys can read it because I don't use graphic content on my platform. You guys can have at it. Uh, it's not a good look. I'll just say that. I read the entire situation involved. I guess two of these spa parlors, or whatever they want to call them, kicked him out and banned him. Two others wouldn't let him, so-called, quote, finish the services. And now everybody in Baltimore is calling for his head, understandably so. I'm not going to divulge into that. I'll leave that to Baltimore fans because that's more their territory than mine. But it's the same thing there, like with Cleveland and Deshaun Watson. It's going to be the same result, more than likely, because Justin Tucker is probably on his downturn in his career anyway. Basically, argue it was done when the little incident with Travis Kelce in the 2023 AFC title game happened before the kickoff. I'm sure everybody's seen the video footage, not giving that the time of day. But overall, it's not a good look for Justin Tucker. And Baltimore is likely going to be drafting a new kicker probably this year or next year anyway, because Tucker is on his downturn, his last legs. So, and of course, this doesn't help the cause. Let's talk about putting sanctions on the Baltimore Ravens. Nobody knows yet. I know that both the NFL and the Ravens didn't bother commenting on the situation. It's the old let the process play out. We'll see how that goes. We know what happened with Deshaun Watson after from Houston to Cleveland. Probably similar thing here. We'll find out where everything goes. Overall, it's just not a good look for Baltimore and Justin Tucker. And how this got swept under the rug for the longest time is something that I don't know, and I don't understand why it is. Again, I don't use a platform to discuss such things, because I have a lot of people who were involved in such a thing legally and illegally, and I'm not going to share my opinions on it because I just think it's something that needs to be kept private and let the situation play itself out. I do that out of respect to everybody. And I speak of other NFL news. Yesterday, I was watching First Take on one of my breaks, and I got a chance to see one of the most weirdest individuals off the football field, given all the clothing he likes to wear these days. The one-time Carolina Panther quarterback Cam Newton. He was asked if he'd rather trade his MVP for a Super Bowl. He frankly pointed out and basically said no, and basically drew a weird reaction from the rest of the First Take hosts. I know why he said no to the Super Bowl, because the one time he went to the Super Bowl, everybody knows what he was remembered for. Super Bowl 50, when he lost a fumble, had the chance to get it, pulled back the last second because he was afraid he was going to hurt himself, and the Denver Broncos win Super Bowl 50. That's why he said no. I'm not fooled, Cam Newton. I am not fooled. You didn't want the Super Bowl because you don't mention the Super Bowl because you are remembered for what happened on that particular play. You also remembered how you carry yourself after the game, where you basically sat at the press conference whining like a baby because you lost to an all-time great defense who basically put you on lockdown on that particular game. I mean, you were just shut down. You were tackled to the end zone, had a strip sack fumble by Von Miller, which was recovered by Malik Jackson. You were just absolutely non-existent in that Super Bowl, and it still kills you to this day. That's why you said you'd rather have the MVP over the Super Bowl. Everybody knows what it is. We all seen it. Super Bowl 50. Everybody knows what the deal is. I seen it. I'm not fooled. I know why you said you wanted the MVP, because I'll tell you this: bring that up to someone like Dan Marino or Barry Sanders, they'll let you have it and tell you what the real truth is about MVPs versus Super Bowls. Because any athlete, especially in the NFL, who goes through the hell and high water and makes the sacrifices they do to put you guys at that position, would do anything to get that ring. MVPs are good individual accolades to discuss when we talk about individual achievements, but to go to that next level, you better have some bling in your hand. That's why we have guys like Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, and even a guy like Peyton Manning in that conversation as a whole different category. But we know why you said you wanted the MVP over the Super Bowl Cam Newton. It's because one, you're self-centered. Two, we know about your one-time appearance in the Super Bowl, known for the play that you didn't want to go after. And three, how you conducted yourself after the loss. Now, you were a standout quarterback in Auburn. I remember him in Auburn as a standout collegiate quarterback. But in NFL, very hit and miss. I'll admit, his MVP award was deserved. He deserved it. But to say he'd rather have an MVP over a Super Bowl when we know what happened in that Super Bowl and not mention why he would rather have it, that's probably why he said that at the end. I know Cam Newton. I'm not fooled. I remember the play like happened yesterday. You got put on lockdown by that great Denver Broncos defense led by Von Miller, and that was all she wrote. So it takes care of him. Of course, we talk about the NFL. Everybody's favorite subject these days is, of course, the team that's representing the AFC in the Super Bowl, the Kansas City Chiefs. We have fans in Buffalo and Cincinnati still playing the rigged card because they still think the game was rigged, or that it's rigged for the Chiefs for whatever the referee's card or as it is. Could it be because they're in a situation that you guys have never been in? And no, I'm not giving Cincinnati credit for the 2021 Super Bowl appearance because that was gift wrapped to them. It took a Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid meltdown for that to happen. That's why that happened. I'm not giving you credit for that because you guys just get the fact that Kansas City is in this position for a reason only. They know what it takes to win at the highest level, and they've done it. And you guys want to say this happened, that happened, referees cost us the games, oh, this game should have been turned around. All the refs, favored the Chiefs. If this game was rigged, how come we haven't seen multimillionaires and multi-billionaires invest their life savings placing bets on the Kansas City Chiefs to win playoff games, and Super Bowls? I mean, you think if I was a billionaire and I thought that game was rigged for the Chiefs, I'd bet everything I owned, my life savings, put it on there, and I know I would give it all back, knowing it was rigged for the Chiefs. And you know what else would have happened? NFL ratings would plummet because everybody would know it's absolutely rigged. I said this before when it comes to officiating, and this is something Buffalo and Cincinnati fans don't know how to accept. They're human beings. They make mistakes. I'm sure when they review the tapes every day, they acknowledge the fact that there were calls they missed. How about focusing on why you guys lost the game instead of how Kansas City, quote, had the referees in their pockets? Because it comes down to this whole run. Kansas City made the plays to get there. Buffalo and Cincinnati didn't. And no, I'm not giving Cincinnati credit for winning the 2021 AFC title game because that was due to Patrick Mahomes collapsing in the second half of that particular game, a collapse that almost never happens. And that's why it got to that point. Maybe everyone needs to just focus on where they went wrong, fix where they went wrong, try to make themselves better, and move on. Because this thought of the NFL or whatever rigging for the refs and whatever is basically a moronic excuse, and it's gotten old and tiresome. Maybe focus on where you went wrong, accept self-accountability, self-responsibility, fix it, find a way to get better, get back there, and actually make the plays to get over the hump. Because right now, Kansas is trolling the league right now again. And speaking of the Kansas-Buffalo game, I was in the spaces last night with some great group of people. I mean, part of a wager wire NFL gridiron, I think is what it's called. We had an open discussion about something that is not talked about enough because everybody's still fixated on Kansas City and the referees favoring games for Kansas City. Nobody's talking about Christian Benford. You don't know the deal? Because he got a hit in the Baltimore game, wound up in the concussion protocol. Apparently, he was up in street clothes, and out of nowhere, he showed up in uniform for the game against Kansas City. Of course, late second quarter, the collision with a fellow teammate, and he's out back on the with a concussion. Had to be picked up off the field to wind up in a cart, and was basically still seeing stars and is dizzy with his eyes nearly closed as he was sitting in that cart as they were taking that cart to the locker room where it was again he was declared out immediately with a concussion. We know the NFL concussion protocol is inconsistent, especially when you go back to what happened here in Cincinnati about 2.5 years ago when Miami came here. The hit where Tua was laid out and his fingers were looking like this. And there have been other players who've had missed longer weeks, more weeks, because of being unable to pass the concussion protocol. Maybe the prototypical of this is Browns cornerback Denzel Ward, who had at least a half dozen of these. But question I have is maybe why not we asking questions about this? Because we're talking about a human being's livelihood out here who got whacked, who had no business being on the field. I know that the play before, like a couple plays before, he made a good defensive play on Hollywood Brown, but still, he shouldn't have been out there on the field after getting hit upside the head like that. When he was in that cart, he looked like he was. I mean, his body was literally dizzy, and his eyes were barely able to keep his eyes open. I mean, you can see everybody on all of the sidelines, for his Bills teammates coming over to see how he is because he did not look real well at all. And nobody is deciding to pay attention to this or shed any light on this because they're so fixated on what happened with the Kansas City Chiefs being biased in their favor or whatever the hell they want to say, and not pay attention to a more serious issue where someone's health was at stake in a high contact sports. Yes, this stuff happens in football. I get it. But how can Bills fans push for this guy to be on the field after this, knowing he wasn't 100% and knowing this was likely going to happen in this game, which it eventually did? We know the NFL gives two darns about player safety. Understood. And we know the concussion rules, it's inconsistent across the board, team for team, city for city, however you want to name it. But maybe we should be spending more time talking about this stuff than, which could bring more open dialogue and more honest communication than talking about refs rigging games for the Chiefs, because that's just absolutely moronic and used up at this point, especially here in Cincinnati and over there in Buffalo. At some point, we need to talk about more. Guys have to address more serious issues because right now you're using redundant issues that's basically played out, used up, worn out, and basically need to be put to the grave and buried 6 feet under. Because something like this is a man who's a human being who probably has a family to go to, and for him to be out there at a time when he shouldn't, somebody on that Buffalo staff needs to be answering some real questions. Somebody in the Buffalo fan base needs to be asking some real questions, giving us honest answers, and telling us what the deal is. Because it's an issue right now that's not even bothered being talked about or even looked at. Hopefully Christian Benford is all right now. Granted, Buffalo's eliminated, but in my opinion, I'm worried. Excuse me. I'm more worried about the health of Christian Benford after what happened with that hit, because the way he was after that hit, it was very, very scary. Nobody in the Buffalo media wants to talk about it. Nobody in the Buffalo Bills coaching staff or players want to talk about it, or even the fans in Buffalo want to talk about it. They're going to be fixated on what Kansas City is. That's a crying shame. It says a lot about you guys at the end of the day. I'll be talking more about the concussion protocol down the line because we'll probably have about 50 million of these. But as I said before, the NFL quit caring about player safety a long, long time ago, and this is what's going to happen as a result. And if they don't fix it, it's going to be the same thing. Now, speaking of what's going on here in Cincinnati, because I have my local followers here, I see you guys. Don't try and hide yourselves. I will put you on the map here because it was yesterday. I guess Duke Tobin, the so-called de facto GM, or whatever you guys in Cincinnati want to call him, had some very interesting things to say about three pending big-name future free agents, that being T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Trey Hendrickson. We've seen this act for 3 decades, and until my two eyes see it, nothing's going to change. Jamar Chase is going to get his contract. I made that foregone conclusion. I think everybody here in Cincinnati has. That's a no-brainer. It's not going to come down to who do you want to keep, T. Higgins or Trey Hendrickson. Question I have moving forward is whoever it is you're going to sign, you're going to have a gaping hole on the one that leaves. Problem is, you let Trey Hendrickson go, you let your defense go. You're talking about a guy who's had 35 sacks in the last 2 years. Actually, the second highest in that team, I don't think barely cracked double digits. That should tell you who should be getting a contract on that roster right now if it comes down to T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson. To me, it's a no-brainer. Because you lose Trey Hendrickson, I don't want to know how bad that defense is going to be. Because I said all along, all 10 guys on that field next to Trey Hendrickson couldn't even defend a statue to save their lives. And you guys in Cincinnati have a problem with me saying it. I'm sorry. I was honest all along that you guys weren't going to make the playoffs this year. I'm sorry when I tell you guys all the time, you lost your season week 1 when the Jacoby Brissett-led New England Patriots, who were tanking, beat you on your field, and you still can't accept it. Here's the thing moving forward. We get it. They're still behind the 8 ball in the times of the modern times, the modern dollar figures, the modern finances, the way businesses run in all walks of life, regular business, the sports business, whatever business you want to call it. I mean, they're still behind the 8 ball. Their value is, I read somewhere, a little more than $4 billion. It's really nothing. I get it. This is the life of the ownership. I know they're in the midst of another ugly fight with the city again, with terms of stadium lease and upgrades or whatever. But right now, everyone needs to chill out. Everyone has their panties all up in a bunch because something Duke Tobin says. Why? This is who Duke Tobin is at the end of the day. I said we've seen it for 3 decades, and it's not going to change until the two eyes seen it. He's going to give Jamar Chase his money. I still believe he's going to give Jamar Chase his money. I think they're going to be a year too late because I thought last year they should have got it done because this offseason, being a Triple Crown winner, Jamar Chase's value is going to go up, and they're going to have to break the bank, bust open the wallets, maybe probably rob a bank to try and get this guy happy money-wise. And I don't know how that's going to end at the end of the day for him because I said all along, they're going to keep him. Now, of course, yesterday, the so-called garbage, what they call that, the Pro Football Challenge or whatever the frick they want to call it, Joe Burrow said, I don't know what this guy has to do to get paid, but they better get the job done. He's been calling for deals to get done with him throughout the season, which should have been done before the start of last season. But per usual, the front office ownership in Cincinnati is behind the 8 ball. They can't even see what's in front of them straight. I mean, Stevie Wonder could see it better than them at this point. But you're in a dilemma right now. Somebody is going to have to walk because you're not going to pay everybody top dollar. I remind you, you Bengals fans, you Bengals super fans like Zim, Bengals captain, Chris Rowling, Kirsty Conway, the moronic idiot that she is, Kay Adams, among many others. You forced the narrative to want Joe Burrow be paid the highest paid quarterback in the league. You got it. Now you're going to try to force the same thing on Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson. Good luck. Because all you guys out there don't even know how the salary cap works. You guys don't even know how guaranteed contracts work. I don't even know you guys know how to count money out of your own wallet. That's what I think of you guys right now. Because you're going to have to lose some real key players coming up. We're at a slippery slope over here. It's bad enough you let Jesse Bates and DJ Reader walk for absolutely nothing. It's bad enough a couple other players walked because you guys didn't want to cough up the dollars and pay them. I mean, we've seen it time and time again under the Mike Brown ownership going back to 1991. If you guys don't want to relive it, smarten up. Get to the times. Get with it. Because this coming, I said all along, going into this season, it was a trying time because it was the end of Joe Burrow's rookie deal. Now that's done. You're staring at a $46.5 million cap hit going into this season. A $46.5 million cap hit for Joe Burrow. You guys want to bitch about how Philly was able to keep their 2 receivers with Jalen Hurts? Jalen Hurts' cap hit isn't even half of what Joe Burrow's is. That's a big difference. You're going to have to lose on some talent here real soon, and it's gonna be looking bad pretty enough. I can't imagine what's gonna happen this offseason. You guys already lost your crap for a bunch of stupid stuff. Now, I'd like to be coming out here again to straighten you guys out. I'll go ahead and do it. Problem is, 90% of you guys couldn't even accept the truth that I told you a long time ago about, especially you so-called super play fans that carry yourself like a bunch of moronic idiots over here. Because I said all along what the result was. You guys didn't want to accept it. And now that's why I said those Bengals super fans, the names I mentioned, among many others, are the reasons this is happening. They wanted Joe Burrow to be the highest paid quarterback in NFL history. They got it. They didn't take anything else into consideration. They forgot it's not a one person team. More players play. It's a whole team, and there's got to be parts that have to be filled with key pieces. You're going to need an offensive line, especially in the interior, because Joe Burrow got sacked 46 times last season, and has been sacked 170 times in his career since he came into the NFL. And your front office still can't put a correct offensive line in front of him. I mean, you guys plucked Orlando Brown Jr. from Kansas City. Chiefs fans are laughing at you when you signed him to that contract because you guys wanted him and threw an internet party acting like you got the second coming of Anthony Munoz when this guy isn't even a zit on Anthony Munoz's butt. That's where the problem lies. You guys don't know how teams work. You don't know how salary cap work. Sometimes I wonder, you guys know how to finance your own checkbooks, but good luck down the line. Because I've an itch. I'll be having this conversation down the line with some of you again. And if you guys want to resort to block button on me, go ahead. I told you a long time ago, you guys are the perfect example of someone who's trying to drive on the wrong way street and expecting no pushback. That's not going to work with me. I told you guys to your face when I saw you week 3 in Cincinnati, myself, what the deal is. And I'm going to double down. This is what you guys asked for. You made your beds. Shut your mouth. Go lie in it. Because what's going to happen the next couple off seasons, it's going to be trying times. Now you guys talking about Joe Burrow might ask for a trade request if the Bengals don't please him. Nobody knows that yet. That's just absolutely stupid assumptions. Now you guys are celebrating Joe Burrow in the so-called past competition, acting like because whatever he did in that so-called skills challenge yesterday made him the best quarterback in the league. No, it does not. I said all along, the top 4 right now going into next season are Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Jaden Daniels. You can throw Burrow just outside of that, which I don't have a problem with. But skills challenges don't do anything for anybody other than show the world that you're able to pick up a football and throw it. Because I'm 47 years old, I can pick up a football, go into the backyard, and throw it. That's all it is. I've said all along when it comes to some of these fans here in Cincinnati, and I'll say this again. Their delusionalism and their short-sightedness is what got a lot of them in deep trouble among many, many things, especially when it comes to being followers of this team. They want to put their imprint on this team and want to be the reasons they're successful, but don't want to accept any accountability for why they're failing. It doesn't work that way in any walk of life. You guys have your little fun down there. That's why I called you guys the funny house down there, like a bunch of loose cannon morons out of a so-called insane asylum. You guys need to be wrapped in straitjackets with your lips duct tape right now because you can't even put 2 words together. Here we are, not even in the official off season yet, and you've already started. That's why I'm over here and you guys are over there. I'll be talking about more about you guys more and more, I guess. And if I really want to have a 1 full episode a week talking about Bengals fans and how you guys carry yourselves, because my 2, I see it, I'll have at it. Not the regular ones. These so-called super play fans, if you know, you guys know who they are on the X and Facebook platforms. I'll get to that later. People really crack me up these days. When you're 47, as I am now, and you see things now that wish you saw 20 years ago, you can get a chance to voice your opinion more, and sometimes your voice is better heard after you see the fact versus when it's happening in your delusionalism. Now to MMA. And our favorite topic, again, is once again an individual who just doesn't know how to shut up to save his life. This happens to be Conor McGregor. Today, he goes at Khabib again, and he calls him the N-word, the racist word. Everybody knows what that is. 25 minutes later, he posts a tweet trying to defend, I can't think of the guy, like Bryce Mitchell or something like that, the MMA guy who made the anti-Semitic comment about Hitler. But Conor McGregor, he still doesn't get it. I said it along when I saw the replay of when he got beat down to a pulp by Khabib and nearly choked out to near death. I said I saw a killing. And I don't want to say this on here, but I'll go ahead and say it. Maybe Khabib should have just finished the job because he still doesn't get it. His 5 minutes of fame was that lucky kick against Jose Aldo, 15 seconds in, and he's acting like it's the greatest thing he's ever done, when it really didn't amount to much. This guy's always going to be about the theatrics. This guy's always going to be about the whatever the hell you want to call it. But I remind you, this guy just recently lost a rape hearing over at his home country, I think Ireland or whatever it is. He was, let me remind you this, he was found guilty. He didn't accept any plea agreement or settlement. He was found guilty in a civil court in his home country. And now he's over here making racial sentiments. The guy tried to sucker and lie about wanting to fight Michael Chandler, and we know he's ducked Michael Chandler for the longest time. And now here he is making supporting an anti-Semitic individual in the MMA while bashing Khabib again. Who we know what happened the last time he said the things to Khabib the way he did. He was got choked out to near death. Basically, Khabib just turned it to a street alley fight and just told it like it was to his face in that octagon. I've never seen anything like that. I mean, Khabib legit wanted to kill that guy, and sometimes I wish he did. I saw the promotion he had for the Floyd Mayweather boxing match rattled his head, and he's been a different person ever since. And you see it right here now. I mean, the guy hasn't done anything since the Obama administration. That's how irrelevant he is. But we have idiots who think he's relevant when he hasn't done anything of significance since that lucky kick on Jose Aldo. And now the guy was a resort to racist rants, racist words, backing anti-Semitism, being a two-faced, moronic, pompous jerk that he is. I can think of some other words. I'm not using this platform for it. This guy just needs to flat out shut up and go away now. I mean, he was officially found guilty of rape, and that's basically his end game, period. I like to talk more about him, but, I'm just going to let the sleeping dogs lie. The guy's just an absolute moron at this point. Basically, I can officially say this now. The guy's also a bigot on top of everything else. Now as I wrap this up, the fight coming up tomorrow night. It is the Battle of the Davids. The standout David Morrell against the fake contender David Benavidez. I've been blown away and very impressed with how David Morrell's come along, especially when we talk about the short career that he's had up to this point. Not as much as Benavidez yet, but Morrell looks more seasoned for a guy who's had 12, 13 fights than you would think. I mean, I agree he didn't look great against Ragayevich. I can't even pronounce the Russian's name. It was on the Crawford Madrimov undercard. But I liked how this guy was throughout the build-up, the press conference, even the final stare down at the weigh-in today, where he was just calm and relaxed and didn't seem like he was going to be in all the moments. I mean, for a guy who's only had 13 fights, he's come pretty well. And as out of the southpaw stands, a slick fighter who does very well. I mean, the question is going to be what happens when he gets tagged. I mean, I haven't seen that yet. I know there's going to be a lingering question because that's what's probably going to be happening in all of his fights until someone officially tags him. But I've always said about David Morrell, for a guy who's limited, he's done very, very well for himself. I don't put as much stock in his last fight like all the David Benavidez fans do. Actually, I checked that. There's not a lot of David Benavidez fans. It's 10 David Benavidez fans with 5,000 burner accounts on Facebook and Twitter. That's David Benavidez fans. But for David Morrell, I expect him to come out here and handle his business. I expect him to take care of business against this novice who's used to snorting cocaine, ducking Canelo Alvarez, ducking Artur Beterbiev, ducking David Benavidez, Dimitri Bivol, and I expect David Morrell to handle business and have his hand raised at the end of the day. It's going to be tougher than people think, but I've been impressed with David Morrell, and that's who I'm leaning toward, and I expect David Morrell to handle business because we need some fresh air now because we know that Beterbiev is starting to hit their downturn in that division. Canelo is going to more than likely head toward a showdown with either Billy or William Skull, which is fine with me. But with Bivol and Beterbiev on their downturn, there's probably going to need a new fresh face in that light heavyweight division. And our David Morrell. I liked what I've seen out of him so far. The guy still has work to do. I'll acknowledge that. I mean, the guy's not a finished product by any imagination in the sport of boxing. He's only had 13 pro fights. but he's coming along well. I think he's coming along great for a guy in limited experience. And I expect him, after looking so calm and relaxed, to handle business tomorrow night against David Benavidez. David Morrell is going to be your winner. A guy who knows how to take care of himself, a guy who knows how to carry himself. And unlike David Benavidez, he doesn't resort to cocaine use. Unlike David Benavidez, he carries himself like a first-class human being. So that's my logic for David Morrell, and he's going to get the win. Sometimes when I do these shows, I get a little too worked up on some things, but sometimes I use these shows to just let loose. Because when you try to let loose to somebody in this life these days, people take it as everything as an insult and they get sensitive. I said all along, when I came back to this, now I got my new equipment, my new microphone, my new earphones. I feel like I'm ready to go to, bigger and better pastures. It's going to take me some time because I'm still new to this. I'm just huff fluffing right now with my content. I said all along, if you guys like it, great. If you guys don't like it, great. You're more than welcome to tell me either way. I learned how to accept, the good, the bad, the pretty, and the ugly. As I wrap this show up tonight, just a couple announcements. I don't want to put my own self promotion out here, but I guess everybody does it for themselves. I guess I will do it for myself. Of course, later tonight I have a Spaces with Fantasy Patton, all that smoking, all them guys. Good NFL content. I'll be talking more about the situation here in Cincinnati and the injury with Christian Benford over the weekend. Tuesday, I'm on a show with a fellow from Britain named, I can't. His name is from Sharp Bets. I can't think of the whole word. He is called the Boxing Bug. I'm going to be doing a show on that on Tuesday. Also, midweek, I'll be doing the Fighter Series on the Boxing Media Hub. The fighter this week is, of course, spinoff from Cincinnati, the great Aaron Pryor, who I consider a Cincinnati icon, and among many other things coming up over the next several weeks. I never thought I would be a hot commodity again. I said all along, if you guys want me, I'm open. Just shoot me a personal DM, and I'll work accordingly. I have a busy schedule outside of this. I'll put that out there right now. I do have a busy schedule outside of this, but I'll tell you this. I look forward to working with everyone as possibly again. But as I said all along, don't expect me to lie for somebody to boost your views, to boost your ratings, to boost your monetization, because that's not who I am. Because if I'm not doing it to my people here in Cincinnati, I'm not doing it to anyone. I tell everyone when I do this sort of thing, be you, but be honest. Don't bring yourself down to where you need to resort to clicks and likes like I see the people here in Cincinnati do. Don't resort yourself to trying to sucker people into something they don't want to get into. Because I see that a lot in the boxing community. Especially, I can't think of the individual's name. He was on Ring Magazine not too long ago. Someone can point him out to me because I want to have a conversation with him to his face because he want to drag me into it, but I'm not going to get into it. Just do this for the right reasons. I came back because I learned I love to interact with people. Anybody knows me knows I love to. This is the era we're in now. Podcasting, live streaming, whatever you want to call it. And I enjoy doing this. I really do. I said all along, I'm not here to please everyone because obviously I can't. I'm not here to get people to come over to me and hug, hug me and say, "Oh, Sirhan, I love your show." I don't care for that. I just do me, and I just do me on this show. I leave it to you guys to share the content. Leave it to you guys to spread the word. I leave it to you guys to tell me what you think. I mean, I welcome all agreements. I can welcome all disagreements, all agreements, everything. I mean, that's what debates are, isn't it? I mean, you can have a healthy debate without having your panties all up in a bunch. That's why I went off on a bunch of people after the season finale at Cincinnati at Pittsburgh, because we had a bunch of morons here who were saying, "Let's go Chiefs," after everything they did to the Chiefs, their players and their fans, to turn around and do that. And they dragged me into it. I fired back. I said what I had to say, and I walked out. Times are different now. It's not like back then where I would just simply leave it be and move on because some people want to tie me to it. But now I'm saying my piece and I'm leaving it. That's one thing I've learned as I've gotten older. Just understand this. And I had to learn this the hard way myself. Sometimes you need to speak up. And that's what I had to do. Everybody has a voice. Everybody has a voice. Yours truly being one of them. But I'll tell you this right now. I enjoy this, and I'm not going anywhere. I can point to a bunch of names over here. I see my views coming up out of nowhere. I don't know why. It's always after I'm about to wrap up. Why can't I come in the beginning? Uh-uh. No, you guys are awesome people. I love everybody equally. And as I always wrap up, I always tell everyone one thing. I always like to give some life advice myself because I've had a I've had the biggest fortune of having older people just take me under their wing and show me the way in this walk of life in some areas that I never would open my eyes to. But the common denominator I've always been told, always make self care your number one priority in this walk of life. Because if you can't take care of yourself first, if you're unable to care of yourself first, nothing else in this life matters. Because those, as the late Jerry Springer would say, take care of yourself first, then take care of each other. Goes back to another thing I've learned over all these years. Don't let anyone make you their priority when deep down you're just an option to them. Stay true to yourself. Good things will follow in all walks of life. And always keep your head above your shoulders and aim high. Because if you start to aim low or start to have doubts creeping in your head, that's where you're going to struggle. Never be afraid to ask for help, because I've had to do that as I've gotten older myself. Because some of the key people that have guided me to this point are no longer on this planet Earth, and I've had to, in a way, have to become a man at some point. It's sometimes it's a struggle, but I've learned how to deal with it, and I've learned how to grow. I learned how to take an initiative and take matters into my own hands. Uh, you guys are just a bunch of wonderful people. I'll tell you that. I mean, I was on a podcast spaces last night with a bunch of a few great people. I shout out to you guys for having me on last night. I always look forward to you over there at NFL Gridiron. Of course, my fellows over at the Boxing Media Hub. My guy in Kansas City named Farzine Fasugian. If you're watching Farzine, you know I have nothing but admiration and respect for you, what you do in your content. I'll always watch you. I can bring a bunch of other things. As I wrap this up tonight, I will be gone for the weekend. I will be back Monday night. Going to talk into more into the Super Bowl talk. Tuesday and Wednesday, a boatload of boxing talk. And we get closer to Super Bowl Sunday. Thursday, I will give my official prediction, official breakdown, and maybe a whole bunch of other stuff that people want to try and drag me into. And I'll gladly share my voice. I said all along, if you think I'm good, feel free to tell me. If you think I'm not good, feel free to tell me. Because I said my biggest failure the previous time when I did this was I let people who tell me I was terrible get to me a little bit. I didn't. When I came back the second time, I've had a couple of people give me advice on how to be better, and I'm taking it to heart. That's what I'm going to start doing from now on, because this is the era we're in. And instead of sitting down being a no good for nothing, I'll start to get creative myself. And that will wrap up this edition of Sirhan on X. I hope everybody out there has themselves a wonderful 31st of January 2025. With the way the weather's been over here in Cincinnati and all the snow we got, I never thought I would get to this point. But here we are. In about 4.5 hours, it'll be February 1st. Never thought I would live to see this, because these days have been long this month in January. I don't know about parts of the country or world you guys are living in, but over here in Cincinnati, this has been some real cold days. I mean, even a day last week where the temperature was -3. I mean, look, I had that thing, my fireplace kicking on that night, because even as it was kicking, I was still cold. That's how cold it was that day. Spring's coming, and that means FC Cincinnati soccer, which I'm going to talk more when the time comes. And of course, opening day. And as I said, I'll only wear my Cincinnati pride for one time only. Nobody does opening day like Cincinnati. And that'll wrap it up. Hope everyone has a good Friday and weekend. Until then, good night. Take care of yourselves, and God bless.